Good evening, everyone. It is Bridget here from Bridget's Healthy Kitchen, wishing you a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. I hope you're well and I hope you are safe. Thank you for joining me. Tonight's episode of Bridget's Healthy Kitchen is your recipe requests, which is super exciting because these are literally recipes that I have been inundated to create, and I thought I would dedicate the whole week to your recipe requests. So it's going to be a bit of an odd week because you just don't know what to expect. Like tonight, for example, we are doing a super healthy pate, and you know pate comes from liver, and I'm going to be talking a little bit more about just how healthy liver is for us as we're going along in this class. And I'm not even going to tell you what next our next class. Keep you all surprised of what it might potentially be. So I hope you join me all week here in the kitchen. I've just realized I've got my notifications on. I'm going to see if I can turn them off. Otherwise you guys are going to hear beep beeps throughout this entire thing. How do we turn off my notifications? Yeah, there we go. Yes, new phone, by the way. Learning how to use my new phone. Technology. Yes, not really. But thank you for joining me tonight. If it's your first time watching, welcome to my kitchen. This is where we make healthy, delicious food, usually gluten-free, always gluten-free, always sugar-free, and usually dairy-free, if not with a dairy-free option. Tonight is no exception. We are doing our pate as gluten-free. It is sugar-free and it is also dairy-free, which is mind-blowing because pate is normally basically livers. And it's either a liver from a goose, which is very traditional. You've all heard of foie gras, so that is from a goose. But you can also make pate from chicken livers and duck livers. So tonight I'm actually making mine from duck livers. But if you can't find duck livers, because they can be a little bit hard to find, please don't worry, use chicken livers. They're probably going to be your best bet. And the other thing about duck liver is it does tend to be quite a little bit more stronger in flavor because it's a little bit more gamier. But I quite like that. But I would definitely, if it's your first time trying homemade pate, go with your chicken livers. Definitely. So normally pate is livers, butter, and cream. That's what pate is. So we've taken out the butter, we've taken out the cream, and we're going to make a really healthy version of pate. And it tastes so amazing. I can't wait for you guys to taste it. All right, come on down to my bench. Let's get into the recipe. It is pretty simple. You don't have too much to worry about in this one. And I think you're really going to appreciate it because, as I was saying, it's incredibly healthy. Now you notice I've got my cooktop on the bench here. I am going to turn it on. I'm going to turn it on to medium, and I'm using quite a large size frying pan as well because we're going to be doing around about 500 grams worth of pate. And if you're buying chicken livers, that's going to cost you about $3 for the livers. If that's about 1.1 pounds of pate, about $3 for the livers, and then maybe another $1 or something, not even that, for the rest of the ingredients. It is budget friendly, but of course it's nutrient dense. So the first thing that you want to think about doing, once you've got your pan on, we're going to be using coconut oil today as our fat in there. And I'm just putting in half a tablespoon of coconut oil. And then I'm going to take myself up sort of a medium-sized onion. Remember, this is to make 500 grams of pate, which is heaps. And so you just want to slice your onion thinly, not too thin, but also you want them to be even because you want it to cook quite evenly. So cut it nice and thin, nice and even, I should say. And then once our oil is looking like it's melted and it's starting to get a little bit hot, we can consider cooking our onions. So that's going to go there. That's one of the ingredients we have to prep up, which is fantastic. The other ingredient that we have to prep up is a bit of an apple. So yes, I know, right? We're going to put a green apple into our pate. By the way, I am just literally moving my bin. So I'm not throwing the apple peels on the floor. My bin is underneath me. If you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm not, honestly. I'm not throwing apple peels on the floor. I have a mobile bin, and it follows me around the kitchen because it's so much easier to do that, right? And then move the bin to the side. All right, so peel your apple. You want to use a tart apple. So obviously I am using a Granny Smith, but wherever what's the tartest apple in your part of the world, that's the one you're going to use. My oil here is now fully liquid, which is great. Let's add in our onions. I'm going to turn it up. I've just got it a little bit under medium. I want it to be on medium. Then onions go in, and as well as onions, we're also going to put a little bit of our finely chopped garlic. And for the finely chopped garlic, a bigger spoon than that, I'm going to be putting in 1 tablespoon of my finely chopped garlic. Basically what you're making is liver and onions, but then you're making it smooth. It's like, it's the best. It is the best. And already, I got a great smell happening. Come over here. I got a great smell happening here already. And we're only a couple of seconds into this recipe. And already I'm going, yeah, I think I want to eat this. I mean, pate has always been one of my favorite foods. Always, always, always. And if you've followed me for a while, you would have remembered the last time I was in Paris, I gorged myself on pate. Had no idea at the time just how healthy it was. I was just loving the flavour. But liver, and which is obviously what we're using to make the pate, is extremely healthy. In fact, liver, check this out. Liver is one of the most nutrient-dense foods you can eat. I am serious. It is that good on them. I'm not going to put those apples in just yet. It is that good. It's pretty crazy when you think about it, right? That little liver is actually really, really, really good for you. So what you want to do while your onions are cooking, remember doing this on medium, is you want to every now and then give it a bit of a stir. You don't have to constantly be watching it, but it definitely pays to keep an eye on it and give it a stir every now and then. Because what we're wanting to do is we want to cook down our onions, but we don't want to burn them, we don't want to give them any colour, because even burning our onions, like if they get really black or really too dark, it's going to make the pate bitter, which we don't want. So as we're cooking the onions and the garlic, what is happening is the heat is causing the moisture, as you can see, the moisture there to evaporate, which means it's concentrating the flavour, and adding a little bit of heat to onions and garlic makes it quite nice and sweet as well. So after a couple of minutes of onion cooking, grab your apples, throw them in. Now I'm just going to keep that temperature, remember, just down on medium, keeping it down on medium there. And right now, if you had some thyme or some rosemary, I would suggest rosemary. You chop it up, fresh rosemary, just a couple of, a sprig about that big. The reason I'm showing you this is because I forgot to pick the rosemary from my garden. Maybe Mahedi, do you know where the rosemary is in the garden? Could you, it's right on, you go straight ahead and then you turn right and it's right at the end of that raised bed. There you go, he's going to grab the rosemary for us. Oh, he's amazing. Rosemary works really, really good in this pate, by the way. So while he's doing that, I'm just going to stand here and stir just a little bit. Just making sure that we don't get any dark spots. That's all we're doing. It's nice for it to caramelize, but you definitely don't want any dark spots. So there we go. There's only one herb currently growing in my garden, that's rosemary. And I forgot to grab it. I'm hoping to change all of that really soon. We are hoping to start a nice herb garden for ourselves. All right, fantastic. There we go, freshly picked. Freshly picked. I'm going to give it a bit of a wash, just under that running water. Give it a bit of a wash. This is looking all very good, by the way. Happy, happy. And then you just want maybe not that much. I'm going to use about half of what Mahedi grabbed me, and I'm just going to roughly chop through it. Fresh is definitely best when it comes to this pate, because it's quite, believe it or not, it's quite a delicate flavour once it's cooked. And so if you had dried rosemary or thyme, I think it could be a little bit too overpowering, so definitely go with fresh. Right, that is looking fabulous. Let's move on to the livers. So, in my little jar here, or my little bowl here, I do have some duck livers. Like I said, you can use duck, you could use chicken, completely up to you. Now the first thing you want to do when you get your livers, remember there's 500 grams of livers, or 1.1 pounds, is you want to give them a bit of a clean, because what you'll see here is a little bit of connective tissue there that you want to remove, and you also want to check to make sure there's no other organs that sometimes can be attached, and that's usually like the gallbladder. So if you find that there's maybe something that's not supposed to be there, because this is what a liver basically looks like, yeah? And it's the largest, one of the largest organs in the body because it has a lot of work to do. So when it comes to cleaning, sometimes whoever's processing it just managed to leave on a few bits and pieces that shouldn't be there, but it's absolutely fine. You just remove them and you just take off that kind of, can you see what I've just taken off there? I'm just throwing that in the bin. I'll do one more so you guys can see just how easy it is. It's basically this little portion here. I know it's not the prettiest thing, but literally, you know, it's pretty easy to do. You just grab your knife and you cut down one side, and you grab the other side and you cut that, and you've gotten rid of that connective tissue. So now that that has done, I'm going to take that over to the sink. Come up here. We're going that way. I'm going over to the sink. I'm going to give this a little bit of a wash, cold running water. And then, can you see? I'm draining. Alright, so cold running water, give it a little bit of a clean down there, and then you just are quite fine at this moment in time. You just let it drain just a little bit. Come on down here, let it drain. Don't forget, we're keeping an eye on this. The idea is, remember, not too much colour, you can just have a little bit of caramelization, but the onions are soft and the apple is soft. That's what you're kind of looking for. Perfect. Alright, so now that we're at this stage, we're just going to pat them dry on a little paper towel. You just want to remove that excess moisture that you had there. Ooh, give a bit of a pat down. Come here. Because now we're going to go straight in there. Easy stuff, right? We got a question, Mahi.
How do you know what the gallbladder looks like?
How do you know what the gallbladder looks like? It's really small, it's about that big, and it kind of looks like a little mini heart. Great question, by the way. Great question. But you know what a liver looks like, right? Get rid of that. We're over here now, and I'm going to be putting this up, but keeping it, if you turned it down a little bit while you were cleaning the livers and stuff, that's fine. Just put the temperature back up a little bit, because now we're wanting to saute the actual livers that are in there. And as well as that, I'm also going to add in a little bit of pepper, finely ground black pepper, and of course a little bit of salt is going to go in there as well. Now, talking about how good these livers are. So yes, they are incredibly nutrient dense. So they're so good for our body. Like I really dislike the word superfood, but they are a superfood. They're the sort of food that, you know, a little goes a long way. Like even a small liver has so many amazing vitamins and nutrients in it, but it has it really packed in. Like there's vitamin B12, there's vitamin A, you know, of course there's iron in there, but it's just how many of those of it is available to our bodies, which makes liver really, really special. So that's one of the great things about liver. But liver is also a really high quality protein. So it has very, very few calories, would you believe, and almost zero fat. Hard to believe, right? But it is literally such an incredible food for us, with, you know, no calories or very little calories, very little fat, and just this high quality protein. And because it is such a high quality protein, it will do awesome things like not just build and repair muscle and tissue, but it will also boost your metabolism. So you will be in fat burning mode if you are eating something like this. And thank goodness it tastes so good. Alright, so what I'm looking for in here, after just a couple minutes of this frying the livers in there, is I'm looking for them just to get a little bit of colour on the outside, but not too much. Because the whole idea about making this pate is that what we want to do is we want to cook the livers until they're still a little bit pink on the inside, a little bit pink. So now I'm adding into here 200 mils of coconut cream. So you need the cream because it's that fat content from the cream, and don't forget it's a good fat. It's a good fat for us, healthy fat. That fat content is going to make this super duper creamy, and that's what we want. Now yes, if you don't want to add coconut, but I suggest you try it, because the first time I tried it with coconut, I was a little bit skeptical, to be honest, because, you know, I'm a traditional pate girl, and for me it was like, gotta have butter, gotta have cream. And then I tried it, this non-dairy version, and I was blown away how good it tastes. And already the smell coming off this right now is incredible. Now if you really like liver and onions, stop now. put it on your plate and eat it, right? But we're making pate, so we're going to keep on going. So what I'm looking for here is I'm looking for the color on the inside of the livers. You don't want to overcook the livers, because overcooking it can definitely alter the flavor quite significantly. So what you're looking for is cooked on the outside and still pink on the inside. So I'm literally grabbing my wooden spoon and having a look in the middle as it's cooking along there. Probably needs just a little bit longer, but you'll be surprised how quickly they cook. And as I was saying, it's always a good idea to give it a bit of a mash. Give the liver a bit of a mash, and then you can actually see what's going on inside. And pink is fine. Remember that, pink is fine. In fact, for me, pink is better, because pink means that that it's got awesome flavor in the pate. All right, looking pretty good, pretty happy with that. I'm probably just going to add just a little bit more coconut cream, probably another 50 mils. So that's taken us up to 250 mils in total of coconut cream, which is around about 8.5 fluid ounces that we've got in there now. And literally, we're pretty much ready to go. This is all the cooking that is required. Once you've done your little mash, just to check what's going on the inside. Remember, pink is okay. Because the thing about livers, and I'm turning this off now, the thing about livers is that even right now, I've taken it off, there's no heat going through this system anymore. It's completely gone. But the livers are still cooking, because it's what's known as latent heat that's locked inside of them. So even though you might be thinking, oh, they look a little bit too red to me, just be aware that as these livers are sitting here right now, they continue to cook. So the next step is probably the most important step, is you need to think about processing your livers straight away. It's one of the tricks I've learned from many years of being a chef, is that, I'm going to put that up a bit so you can see what's going on, is that the processing of your liver as quickly as you can, once you've made it, once you've cooked it, is going to help to stop that cooking process. Otherwise the livers are going to keep on cooking, and they're going to get drier, and they're going to get firmer, and that's not what we're after. So I'm using my little stick blender here. Make sure it goes into the mixture before you turn it on, otherwise you might get a splash. And literally just go through, and what you want to do is blend them as well as you can. If you don't have a stick blender, you can spoon it straight into your food processor and then give it a whiz until it doesn't have to be smooth, because I'm going to show you the process next. It doesn't have to be smooth, but you definitely want it to be blended really well. I'm going to go on high beam. Now I have been in a kitchen, and it wasn't me. I've been in a kitchen where they were making pate, and someone forgot to put the lid of the food processor on properly, and the whole ceiling, not to mention all the chefs standing around, were covered in brown goop. Hot brown goop too, by the way. Yes, we got another question, Mahi.
Do you use butter or ghee?
You can use butter, you can use cream, just replace the amounts that I've used in there. For me, I can't handle, I can handle butter, but I definitely can't handle cream. Too much lactose. So this is obviously a lactose-free version, but if you use butter and you use ghee is lactose-free as well. Alright, so that is looking good. I'm happy with where it's at now. Just let me get rid of this messy thing. I mean, it would be probably pretty nice to lick, but no, not today. All right, so what we have now in our pot is we have quite a chunky pate. And right now, if you like it kind of rustic, you could literally pour this into, a couple of jars, or pour this into a container, and you've basically made pate. And it's this kind of rustic looking pate. And by the way, as the pate cools, it gets a little bit thicker. So you could totally stop now. And in fact, I've worked at a couple of restaurants where we always did this kind of more rustic style pate. But if you like a really smooth finish to your pate, you're gonna want to watch the next step, because that's how we're gonna get to our lovely smooth finish. So I have here a very fine, as you can see, it's known as a fine metal sieve, very fine. And the way you can tell is because the holes are really close together. So what's going to happen when I begin to spoon my pate into the sieve is it's going to require me to do a bit of work to get it to go through and to push through to the bottom. So this type of process done in kitchens all over the world to get a very smooth finish, either to a sauce or even to a soup, and of course to a pate as well. So you can see that what I'm kind of extracting out of here, there you go. Well, it's a bit hard because the bowl is fogging up, but what I'm extracting is a very smooth pate. And as I was saying, this is all dependent on, like, can you be bothered? Because, you know, if you can't be bothered, just wait for the pate to cool down. Obviously, wait for it to cool down, and then you've got pate. You've got quite a lot of pate too. You know, about 500 grams of pate. But if you want to just take this extra step, you are creating something that's pretty spectacular, pretty special. I mean, there's nothing wrong with all the, you know, the firm bits in the pate, but me personally, I love the smoothness of this. You know, once you've kind of pushed it through the sieve, you're left with this kind of, you know, this kind of chunky stuff in here, which you can then just throw away, just discard that. But you know, the other thing about it is that when you push it through a sieve, you actually make less as well. So you're probably only going to get about 400 grams of pate if you push it through the sieve. So once again, I'll leave that up to you guys on what you prefer to do. Now the trick to this pate at this point is to let it cool, because what you'll find, and this is many years of experimentation as a chef, you know, making pate in different restaurants all around the world, and what I've always discovered from pate is it tastes completely different from the version that it is now to the version it is when it's cooled. So I wouldn't even bother trying to season it right now. I would advise that what you do, because you get more of a true flavor once it's cooled down. Once it's cooled down, then you're going to taste it for flavor and decide whether you want to add any more salt or any more pepper or anything like that. So wait for it to cool down. I know it's hard, but definitely do that. So if you make your pate and you're pretty happy with it, I'm just going to leave it there for now. You're pretty happy with it. Have a bit of a taste once it's cooled down, and then decide if it needs any more seasoning. If you're thinking it's fine, doesn't need any more seasoning, then you're pretty much ready to go. You've got pate that will probably last in your fridge. Someone asked, why don't you just blend it till it's smoother? It's almost impossible to get a really smooth blend from it. You've got so many big pieces in there. So this is the chef's way of doing it. This is going to get you the smoothest possible result. So once you've done all this and you decide that you want to just consume it now, this will probably last 2 to 3 days in your fridge, covered in a sealed container. But if you want your pate to last a little bit longer, what you then need to do is take around about, depending on the size of your, say if it was a bowl that was full of pate and I wanted this to last longer, I would take about 100 grams, which is 3.5 ounces of coconut oil or butter for the people who are using the dairy option, ghee if you're doing the dairy option, sorry. You know, melt that down, that butter, that ghee or that coconut oil, and then once this is cooled, you're going to pour that ghee or coconut oil over the top, and it's going to seal the pate in, and then the pate will last in your fridge for 7 to 10 days. That's called potted. So 2 versions for you, but why not just like this? This is my pate. Here we go. I also made some homemade crackers to go with it. These are my rocket crackers, which I shared with you guys a couple weeks ago. And taking up a knife. Here, oh look. So yeah, this is probably about a third of what I made using that 500 grams, 1.1 pound of livers. You make a lot. So get ready for pate, and it's gonna cost you like $4. It's pretty crazy. Ooh. All right, so I made a rocket cracker, which is gorgeous, and I'm not sure if you guys can see this, but it's a little bit pinker on the inside than it is on the outside, which is perfect. My pate still hasn't been in the fridge. It will harden a little bit in the fridge. So there you go. Come up here. Let's have a try. My goodness, that is phenomenal. Let me tell you, that is amazing, just on its own. I won't double dip, I promise. That, it is so smooth, it is delicate. It's not in your face. It has a very delicate flavor. The flavor of coconut is so almost undetectable. In fact, you kind of sit back and you go, what's in that pate? You know, it is delicious. It is absolutely delicious. And as I was saying, good reminder that it tastes completely different when it's cooled down to when it's warm. So right now the flavor of that pate in there, or this one in front of me, is very liver-like, which it should be, right? But when you taste it when it's cool, it is nuanced. Like I get a hint of rosemary, not too much, just a little hint of rose. I better try some more. I'm not sure what I'm getting. Try a little bit more. I get a hint of rosemary. My goodness. I get possibly, is it apple? I don't know. I double dipped. It's alright, it's just us. Like there's so much going on. So many flavors going on in there. It is phenomenal. I cannot recommend you make this more highly, because yes, we're talking about a fabulous dip to have with your crackers, which is really good, but it's also so incredibly good for us. Remember, this is liver and onions in the most delicious form of liver and onions, and it's really, really easy to make. So I hope you enjoyed this recipe. I will be sharing the PDF version with you tomorrow on Bridget's Healthy Kitchen, so make sure you keep an eye out for that if you want to have a printed copy sent out, or printable copy sent out to you. But of course, keep joining us here, because all week I'm doing your requests, and I've had some exciting requests come through. So we're going to be doing lots of delicious food all week here. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, where you can watch all these videos on replay as many times as you want. That's Bridget's Healthy Kitchen on YouTube. You can also subscribe to my Instagram, Bridget's Healthy Kitchen, to my Pinterest, Bridget's Healthy Kitchen, of course. And I look forward to seeing you again back here in our kitchen for more of your recipe requests. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Can't wait to see the photos of everyone's pate as we go throughout the week. Take care, guys, and please be well, be safe, enjoy your pate. Bye.
Have a pate.